Hi, everyone. Welcome to SingleStore and AWS Dev Day on ChatGPT. I'm very excited to have everyone here. So thanks for joining in. Today, we have our panelists here. So we will be introducing you to our panelists, and we'll be discussing an agenda on ChatGPT, also building some hands-on session where we'll be working with some supply chain data, and we'll tell you how to use no code, but run a query in plain English. Sorry, I want the audio to be off, please. So I will show you how, Mike is here, who will show you how to run the query in plain English on any of your data set without using any code. So you don't need to learn any SQL query or any code, but you can just use plain English to run query. So that's our topic. Let me go on introducing our panelists today. So today we have Pavan Kumar, Solutions Architect from AWS. Pavan is working as a Solutions Architect at Amazon Web Services. He has thorough product development experience in the healthcare services, banking, finance, corporate tax, and automobile domains. He's a published author for the book Getting Started with V Programming. You might want to search it on Google and get a head on V Programming now. He's an AWS certified solutions architect professional, a Microsoft certified professional, and Microsoft certified technology specialist. He has played key roles in identifying business requirements and converting them into viable products with the help of his vast software development skills. He also played a key role in the architecting, development, and deployment of software applications that became a part of CI/CD pipeline to various cloud platforms and on-premise infrastructures. Next, I want to introduce you to George. George Kurvilla, he's our Chief Data Evangelist at SingleStore. He will be taking you through the presentation. Some of you might heard that Ankur would be joining today, but Ankur could not join because of a certain personal reason. So now George will be here today to take us through the presentation. He's an amazing speaker. I know him personally, as well as he heads the business development function at SingleStore for international markets. He brings 18 years of international market experience from multiple industries, giving him bird's eye view of how technology can deliver business results that matter. His mission is to evangelize the world's fastest unified database built to deliver real-time insights for moments that matter. You can learn how SingleStore DB provides superior performance for the next generation of AI-driven applications and ultra-fast analytics without breaking a sweat. After that, we will be moving on to the demo. So demo will be taken care of by Mike. So Mike has also done the ChatGPT Dev Day. If some of you had joined the last one, Mike Nguyen is a solutions engineer at SingleStore. He's my colleague and a very dear friend also. Mike is a solutions engineer, and he specializes in solution consulting across the BFSI, retail, and various other industries. He excels in database administration and performance tuning, ensuring that systems run at peak efficiency. Mike possesses a remarkable aptitude for data visualization, transforming complex information into actionable insights. His extensive knowledge in solution architecture enables him to craft innovative strategies that drive business success. Now, here's the exciting part. So if you guys know SingleStore, we are very good at driving some raffles. So today we have this special raffle for all of you. You can go on to tinyurl.com/devday-aws-singapore. This is where the cloud trial link starts. You can go to that cloud trial and start logging in. One of you will be qualified for a raffle, which is our AirPods Pro, Apple AirPods Pro. You just have to simply click this link or scan this QR code, and I will choose a random person through my system who will be announced at the end of the webinar today. Now, hold on to this till some of you want to scan this QR code, but next move on to the agenda for today. So as I said, the agenda is first we'll take on to the GenAI on AWS. Then we'll be introducing the SingleStore DB through SingleStore's workshop. Next, we'll move on to generative AI applications. We'll talk about generative AI in a nutshell. After that, we will be talking about integration between SingleStore and AWS. and then we'll take a short break for question and answer. After that, we will start with our hands-on workshop. So next, I move the platform over to you, Pavan. Pavan, take it.
Thank you so much, Sweta. So, good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, Singapore. What a lovely evening to start with how you can go about building generative AI applications on AWS. So, myself, Pavan, I'm working as a solutions architect at AWS. Today, I'm going to talk about building generative AI applications on AWS. In order to help you accelerate your development on AWS, I'll be covering about the services uh, which will be helping you during this journey. So let's move on. Next slide. So the very basic question that comes to anybody's mind when they are about to start implementing generative AI applications is, what is generative AI? Right. So you might already be familiar with artificial intelligence, but nowadays you would have heard about generative AI, right? So it is a type of artificial intelligence that generates multimodal data and creative content, right? So be it like generating conversations that are in text or image content, audio or video content, right? So generative AI applications are powered by large scale models, and these are predominantly pre-trained on a vast corpora of data, right? So which are commonly referred to as foundation models. Again, a new term, right? So let's move ahead to the next slide to understand what foundation models are. Yeah. So to understand foundation models better, right? So let's first dive deep into transformers, right? So these are the foundational architectures and also popular model architectures that led to the rise of foundation models, right? So a transformer-based model has two components basically. An encoder component which converts the plain text into embeddings, and a decoder component that converts these embeddings back again into output text. So these two components can either lie in conjunction or all alone in a given transformer architecture. So based on this info, if you look at the screen, there are three main subtypes of transformer architectures, right? So the first one you see is the encoder only architecture, and the second one is the encoder decoder, and the last one is decoder only architecture. So coming to the first one, encoder only models, these foundation models that are having encoder only architecture do not generate any human interpretable outputs, right? So, and these could be typically useful in applications where you need to efficiently query to find similar items or classify or predict, to mention a few use cases. Whereas the rest of the two models, which comprise of encoder, decoder, and decoder only architectures, these are capable of creating new content, right? So, and hence they are known as generative models. So models powered by these two kinds of architectures are called foundation models of that belongs to generative AI application, right? So an example of encoder decoder model, as you can see on the screen, is specified as T5, which is an open source model from Google. T5 stands for text to text transfer transformer, and this model is capable of addressing natural language problems such as text to text conversion or summarization. So coming to the last one, the decoder only models, examples of these models include Amazon Titan's text generation model, which I'll be covering in the coming slides, or the other model could be OpenAI's GPT-3 models. So having understood that these foundation models and the underlying architectures and their capabilities, let's look at various service offerings by using which you can benefit from building generative AI applications on AWS. Yeah, let's move on to next slide. So as you can see on the screen, right, so there are three main service offerings I would like to talk about today. that are offered from Amazon Web Services. The first one is Amazon Bedrock, and the second one are the EC2 instance types that are powered using our own silicon chips, which are Trainium and Inferentia. And the third one is a application of generative AI, which is Amazon Code Whisperer. Right. So talking of the Amazon Bedrock, right? So it is a new service that makes foundation models from Amazon, as well as foundation models from AI companies such as AI21 Labs, Anthropic, Stability AI, accessible to its users via a simple API or through the playground. Right, so Bedrock is the easiest way for you to build and scale generative AI applications using foundation models, thus democratizing access for all our builders. So just to mention a few of the models that are available from these AI companies, which I have mentioned just now, Jurassic 2, Cloud, and Stable Diffusion are the models that are available. We also have been previewing Amazon's new Titan Foundation models as a part of Amazon Bedrock with few customers before we make them available broadly. So as a part of these Titan Foundation models, the first one, there are two variants that are available. The first one is a generative LLM for text-based tasks, such as the summarization, text generation, classification, or open-ended Q&A, to mention a few use cases. The second variation of Amazon Titan model is Embeddix LLM. So this LLM would be able to translate text inputs into numerical representations, which are often termed as embeddings. So when it comes to the EC2 instances that are powered with our own silicon chip, Inferentia and Trainium. So these are the foundation models, the instances that are like actually powered with this our own silicon. And over the last 5 years, we AWS have been investing in our own silicon to push the performance on processing performance as well as on price performance to address the demanding workloads like ML training and inferencing. So you can use Inferentia based instances for ML inferencing and Trainium TRN1 and TRN1N for training purposes. So maybe this is the ability that is offered by these instances to maximize the performance and cost, right? To control the cost by choosing the optimal machine learning infrastructure is why that leading AI startups such as AI21, Anthropic, Cohere are running their workloads on AWS. So the third one, which is the last one in the slide, you can see is the code whisperer, right? So I would like to talk like one area where we see the use of generative AI, where it is growing rapidly is in terms of coding, right? So Amazon Code Whisperer is one such AI coding companion that will radically improve your productivity, thereby generating the code suggestions in real time. Right, so this is the only AI coding companion. In addition to generating real-time recommendations of the code, it also does the security scanning, thus finding and suggesting remediations for hard-to-find vulnerabilities, such as top 10 OWASP vulnerabilities. Right, so in addition to that, Amazon Code Whisperer will also be able to filter and flag code suggestions that are a resemblance of open source code, right? So that when you are using, when you see that such logs, you can reference it or license for use. So moving on to the next slide, I would also like to talk about SageMaker Jumpstart. So far we have seen the service offerings that will help you either leverage the GenAI solutions from AWS or build GenAI solutions on AWS, right? So SageMaker Jumpstart is one such feature that is available as a part of SageMaker Studio. Is a ML hub which allows you to interact with various algorithms, foundation models, and ML solutions. So it is ideal for those who wants to play around with various public and proprietary models And you can also use these models, and you would like to have these models deployed on your own self-defined infrastructure on AWS, right? So if you look at the slide, there is also a point that says about a notebook with examples, right? So there are lots of public and proprietary models that are available on SageMaker Jumpstart, and you might be wondering how I can go about using them, right? So you do not have to worry about that. Every model is accompanied by a notebook with sample code, so that you can just open that notebook and start running the cells within that notebook. And you will either fine tune or you would inference the model and start using it for your use cases, right? Moving on to the next slide, I would like to give you a perspective of what are the models that are available, right? So, so there are both publicly available and proprietary models that are available that are an offering on SageMaker Jumpstart, right? For example, Stability AI has models such as Stable Diffusion Excel, which you can use it to generate image, or you can be an artist and instruct the model to provide an image of your imagination, right? So in addition to that, if you look at the Hugging Face, there are various number of models, be it like foundation models such as Falcon, OpenLlama, Flan, right? There is also a new addition that has been added in SageMaker Jumpstart, which is Meta, where you can have access to Llama 2 models. Right. So when it comes to proprietary models, we have model offerings that are available from AI companies such as Cohere, Lighton, and AI21 Labs. For example, if you look at AI21 Labs, Jurassic 2, Ultra, and Mid, these are the models that are useful for language translation, right? So if you provide an input in one language, then you will be able to get the output in other language, like translation of the text is one of the use case for Jurassic 2. So with that information in place, I would like to summarize what we have covered. So far we have covered about a very quick introduction to GenAI, and then we learned about foundation models and their transformer-based architectures. Then we looked at various service offerings from AWS, such as Bedrock, EC2 instances powered by our own silicon chips, such as Trainium and Inferentia, and our own generative AI application, which is offered to you as a service, which is Amazon Code Whisperer, your mighty coding companion. And then we also looked at how you can have access to various public and proprietary model by navigating to the SageMaker Jumpstart, right? So with that, I would like to pass on the next set of presentations to George from here. Thank you.
Hi, everyone. This is like exciting stuff. Thanks again, Pavan, for such a great introductory session on what AWS can offer and make your organizations extremely successful. So right now, we're going to shift gears and get into how and what SingleStore is all about, and how SingleStore can power the next generation of applications that you are working on or about to work on in the coming days or in the future, right? So essentially, we believe the time is now. When I say now, we mean it's real time, right? We need applications to not only be quicker, faster, dashboards to load quicker. The queries need to have all the context and the vectors to be built in and to produce the results in as real time or near real time as possible. So in the last few decades, we have seen companies have turned into software companies, as you know. Taxi companies like Uber, Grab, which was into managing assets and transportation, have slowly become technology companies today that has local data, geospatial data. It also has context right now. Where is your location? Where are the nearest cabs located? And we have seen not only same with logistics and transportation, we have seen that with Netflix, Hulu, Comcast. Even telecommunication companies have become lifestyle companies right now. And all this is powered by the software. And we have companies ranging from Comcast to Hulu, telecom companies like SK Telecom in Korea, True Digital in Thailand, all using and powering SingleStore. And that is because there is a demand for the business to understand their customers. And now, with the data they have on their customers, the behaviors and the products and services they produce, now there is a demand now to produce services that understand the customer needs, right? And not too in the distant future, we are already seeing that these software companies are leveraging AI or artificial intelligence capabilities, and they are being brought into or weaved into these applications to produce services that have never been seen before. Imagine chatbot experiences, which used to be a nightmare if you go to any banking application saying that it'll give you cookie cutter answers with a menu to click and it'll take you off that experience. Now, with the power of AI, we have forms being filled in rural areas of India by using solutions like ChatGPT, by asking simple questions like, what is your name? Where are you from? And within 2 minutes, the entire form has been filled because it understood who they were speaking to and filled to someone who couldn't read and write in plain English or in their native tongue, right? And we are seeing that if businesses don't evolve, they will be left behind. So every organization that you represent that is sitting in this room today have to make use or have a mandate to use AI in their applications, products, and services, or soon you will see that you all will struggle to keep up with competition and, most importantly, customer demands. Now, the question is, the heart of AI is built on data, and data needs to be produced to the application that you're working on in real time. And you have heard in many instances, they say that data is the new oil, right? That was the mandate the last 10, 20 years. But let me tell you this, data is the new soil in which your applications can be planted and be built on. Now, the question is, we believe if your organization is not able to contextualize the data in milliseconds or split seconds, you won't be able to interact with AI models, and this will be a threat to not only your customer base, but also your organization as a whole. So SingleStore, which is formerly known as MemSQL, is a distributed SQL database that helps organizations to transact, analyze, and contextualize your data in real time. In other words, these companies use SingleStore for their real-time analytics applications and AI applications that they're building. So we know that traditionally a database falls into two camps. You're either a transactional database or an analytical database, right? And we realize that when the data lands as a transaction, they need to do some form of ETL processing. Then it becomes an OLAP-ready data for your analytics to power your dashboards, analytical applications, and other use cases. But we at SingleStore noticed that you're losing precious time when you move data from one database to another with batch processing that may happen overnight. And you, as a consumer or the end user, is not working on real data. The data freshness has gone, and you can't address the need of the customer in real time. And that is why we've built a differentiated and a patented technology called universal storage that can handle OLTP and OLAP data on a single table type, reducing data movement, giving you that millisecond performance. And as you can see, there is a demand on transactions, right? Super fast ingest through pipelines, a distributed SQL architecture, and it should be horizontally scalable. On top of that, it supports columnar storage. Like I said, the proprietary table type, right? It's able to do aggregate functions. It supports multi-model data types. We're talking geospatial, vector data, key value, you name it, relational. You have all of that combined on a single database. So no need for swim lane databases or a single purpose database to manage your data. You can handle JSON with ease, all of that in a single database. And lastly, you can handle structured, semi-structured, and unstructured data. So people come and ask me, so is SingleStore a database, a data warehouse, or a data lake? Why not all the three? We can do all of them at millisecond performance, right? And lastly, we have the ability to handle vectors, giving you the ability to do semantic search, keyword search, and even leverage notebooks into your data. And we have long supported vectors since 2017. It was initially a feature, but now with the advent of generative AI applications and ChatGPT, which we have all touched in the last few months, we know this is going to be a huge add-on to what you are about to build in the days to come. And all this is part of your database. You don't need to pay an extra license or an extra plugin. It's all part of a single product and a single store database. And we support all of this on premise, on the cloud, and hybrid environments. That means you can deploy it anywhere you like, wherever your applications are or where your customers are. And lastly, it supports a variety of data types like SQL. We are a SQL database. We can handle JSON, time series, geospatial, and the variety of databases. So no need for specialized databases to handle special data types. You know your SQL, you can query into all these data types, and we become the de facto multi-model database with ease. Now, let me show you what is SingleStore under the hood. So we have data pipelines that come in, and we have a three-tiered storage architecture. We are a memory-first database. That means when your data lands, unlike the competitors out there, let's say Snowflake, which puts you right under the object store, we were built for performance the moment you ingest your data. So it's memory first. That means your applications work quicker on real-time data. Your analytics, your dashboards are faster with this data. Second thing, we then have local disk storage, which supports SSDs, and low-cost storage like object store with unlimited storage. We call them bottomless storage. So we have a three-tiered architecture. And based on your query, it will bring the query mapping into in-memory. And the more people tap into that query, the faster it gets. And we have a demo to show you in a moment's time to show you the performance that we bring to the market. And this allows you to build a low-cost data architecture. Now you're not bleeding operational costs running this data stack, paying for in-memory cost. You can keep your data in object store, cheap storage, and it will only surface up in memory when you want to, when you query into that data. Till then, it stays where it is. And next, we are a distributed database. That means we have a NEAF nodes and aggregator nodes, and based on the demand, it distributes the workloads. And when you don't want it, it consolidates into a few nodes so that you get the performance when it's needed, and it can give the performance to the end users, whether it's an internal or a customer-facing application. So I spoke about pipelines earlier, and this is a feature called SingleStore pipelines, and we made a powerful alternative to third-party ETL middleware solutions, giving you easy and continuous loading, which gives you the ability to load millions of records per second with immediate availability. And it's also highly scalable, right? SingleStore pipelines is inherently scaled with SingleStore DB Cloud workspaces, as well as distributed data stores like Kafka and cloud data stores like Amazon S3. We are also extremely performant, right? We give you that high performance when pipeline data is loaded in parallel from the data stores directly to SingleStore. It leaves in most situations, and it improves the throughput by bypassing the aggregators. And additionally, pipelines can be optimized for low lock contention and concurrency. So we have customers which have 40,000 users using SingleStore, and it gives you that performance right away, and it does not even break a sweat. That is the kind of use cases we are talking about. The more people tap into it, the performance is still consistent or even better because of our architecture. It also brings in transactional consistency. And it also gives in what we call exactly one semantics, right? The architecture of pipeline that ensures that transactions are processed exactly once, even in the event of a failover, right? And it can ingest to stored procedures. It has native integration with Kafka, cloud storage, and HDFS, as I mentioned earlier. And the pipelines support a variety of data types, right? JSON, Avro, Parquet, CSV data formats, and more. We then have a feature called SingleStore workspaces. SingleStore workspaces enable customers to run multiple workloads on isolated compute deployments while providing ultra low latency access to shared data. This ensures your applications are always operating on the latest data. And as you know, workspaces is always, creating data silos and different environments. And next thing you know, you're working on 2 different data sets by the time you work on a particular internal project or a customer-facing application. Because of this, you now have the ability to have granular scalability and isolation of compute resources. And most importantly, it eliminates cost of moving and maintaining data between multiple workloads. And you can scale and ingest compute workloads independently. You can isolate internal and customer-facing real-time applications simultaneously. And this is all built on top of separation of compute and storage, as you can see on the image over here. And lastly, I want to talk about notebooks, right? Notebooks are a common tool for developing code and presenting their results. In SingleStore, notebooks enable collaboration between the user with a native integration with SingleStore DB and running using SQL and Python. We have implemented notebooks to be useful tools for data engineers and scientists alike, and app developers who want to quickly prototype their demo application code. Notebooks are implemented also with security in mind as well, so that the administrators have complete control with endpoints they allow notebooks to connect to. And as you can see here, notebooks give you native SQL support. It allows you to do data exploration with Python and SQL syntax. It also gives you the ability to create interactive visualizations and dashboards with your database. It also allows you to collaborate with data analysis for exploration, sharing notebooks and code snippets in real time. So next, I want to shift gears into how you can build GenAI applications using SingleStore. And I'm going to share our worldview and how it ties into the messaging that we have. As I've shared earlier, SingleStore is a real-time database. Real-time database that does not bleed cost. We have an architecture that supports 3-tiered storage so that the cost is kept at a minimum, yet you can deploy at fast speeds, right? And it's extremely versatile. You can keep it on-premise, hybrid, or on the cloud. And we are a SQL database which can support a variety of data types. And these are the use cases that we have powered, right? We have customers like Comcast and Hulu and Disney Plus that have the demand and the need for speed to build those things. Now imagine when you take all those capabilities and build the next generation of generative AI applications, it's only going to get better, right? You will never hear someone in your organization come and say, excuse me, sir, can you make the dashboard a little slower? You'll never hear that. It's always going to be faster. It's always going to be quicker. And we enable you to do that without breaking the bank, literally. So next, I'm going to talk about being data aware. We all have experiences using ChatGPT, but we know for a fact ChatGPT has old data, that is 2021 data that it's been trained on. You can't query into your own enterprise data. And even worse, you don't know whether it's secure in the first place, right? Are you going to train ChatGPT with your enterprise data? It's going to break a lot of laws in the process. So we believe we want to take these requests into the equation. The question is, my LLMs should be custom made for my data. It is on top of everyone's mind. Like we have some folks from accounting who is sitting here. Would you put customer accounting data on ChatGPT to be trained? No, I would do within the confines of the four walls of my organization, train the data, query into it, and make my application better and faster, right? On the other hand, there are requests like my data should be always fresh. We are talking real time here. It can't have batch processing overnight and all those things, so that your LLM can query into it and get back into real time. And my data should be private and secure at the same time. So this is what we call data awareness. It can't be an old data. It should be right here, right now. We know what happened in the last 3 years. A pandemic can completely shift the dynamics of business. And when an incident like that happens, whether it's geopolitical or economic, working on real-time data with generative AI application on fresh data is paramount, because you would otherwise continue to do business as usual while change is happening right before your very eyes. So we believe there are 3 ways to make generative AI applications data aware. Number 1, you can retrain your LLM based on fresh data. That means you get the data, tell them forget it, you retrain it again with fresh new data every single time. Or you can fine-tune the LLM, which are a very expensive process to tune an existing LLM, which requires compute and storage and the latest and greatest GPUs in the process to train these things. Or something more practical is to search and prompt on your enterprise data, which I'll explain right now. There are 4 steps when it comes to vectorizing your data for an application. Number 1 is the most basic of them all. You prepare your data and you tokenize your data at the same time, which means your data needs to be usable for the next step, which is you break it into chunks and create vector embeddings for those data, saying, let's say you have a table of 100 rows and one chunk is 20 rows. So I would have 5 chunks to create an embedding, right? And after that, you store those chunks and vector embeddings into a database like SingleStore, and then you query into it. You do your search into those data, possibly calling OpenAI or ChatGPT or Hugging Face and transformers, then store and search those vectors. Now, the question here is, there are vectors, but how about vectors with some context built into it, right? We all know vectors go for word search and semantic search and all those things. But the question that you are asking today has a context to it. So let's say that I'm in a sales organization, I want to know my sales performance numbers. If I just simply do that, it'll give me an answer. But what if it takes into context the date of today and my quarter end number of hours left, and builds the urgency, and the information gets only enriched in that process, saying that, hey, you're only a few hours away from my quarter end. We do see these 3 deals at risk. So as an executive, I can speak simple, plain English rather than wait for my analyst and my ops guy to tell me what does my dashboard telling me, right? So essentially, you can query into simple English today. Now, what is a contextual database? That means data that is relevant to your company is contextual data, right? Like I said, quarter end varies across different organizations. Financial year for some companies is January to December, some other companies from March to April, February end, it depends. So getting trained on data that is relevant to your organization is the first step to building a contextual database. Number 2 is the ability to join vectors with transactions and analytical data. As I said, these are 2 different worlds, but how about combining them? Because it needs to be in real time. Number 3, the ability to connect and ingest data from various sources, regardless of where it's coming from. It could be IoT data. I know some individuals here are working with space, right? As you know it. IoT is key. Machine data is key. Data from social media, if you're in the MarTech organization, whether it's transactions, tweets, Facebook comments, posts, sentiment analysis, it's all happening in real time, right? Next, the ability to do hybrid searches. We're not only talking vectors, semantic, context searches, right, that matter to your organization. And the ability to run on-premise or on the cloud, or the ability to do a prototype quickly and to deploy them once it's good to go. So there is an ease in doing experimentation and implementation into your organization. Now, let me show you where does SingleStore come into all of this. Number one, you have the ability to do vector semantic search and keyword match built in as a function when you use SingleStore as your de facto database. Number two, it has by default, with our patented universal storage, the ability to do transactions and analytical queries in SQL within a single database. So no need to pay for an extra swim lane database to do both these things and an ETL processing in between. Number three, the ability with SingleStore pipeline for fast ingest with ETL on the fly. We have Akamai that does 10 million upserts per second across their content distribution network, right? We also have the ability to do hybrid searches because we now support text, JSON, blob, geospatial, time series, graph, and so much more. And we run anywhere on the cloud, hybrid, on-premise. And we have the ability to use and leverage notebooks that combines Python and SQL into not only experimentation, but work on fresh data and deploy them. So let me show you what does a typical organization look like when their data architecture looks like. We have end users and enterprise users. We have a company application. As I mentioned earlier, you have a transactional database. It takes in the data through multiple sources. You do an ETL processing, put it into an OLAP database. Then you power your dashboards, whether it's a Tableau dashboard or Salesforce, you run it through it, and then you give it to your enterprise user. Enterprise user uses a variety of other tools, including Slack, Google Drive, customer support tickets, docs, code, you name it, everything. And now when there is a mandate to use a generative AI application, what do? You just buy one more database, right? You buy a vector database, put all those data in to a vector database like this, and now this is powered by the use cases that you want to do. As you can see here, a lot of precious time is lost. No one in this story is working on fresh data anymore because a lot of time is moved from data creation through an ETL processing, and there are multiple databases now creating data silos. And once it comes to the dashboard and the enterprise user has another set of data that is disconnected from all of this. Now you add a vector to bring all of this together and to make sense of it. And we know vector databases most of the time don't even have context to the equation, and they don't have the data freshness that we bring to the table. So let me show you what SingleStore does in this scenario. So as a user, you will query into SingleStore database saying that you want to generate an article or a product, or you're looking for suggestions, right? It goes into the newly built AI application, which vectorizes the question. It filters the vector based on the context that you have in SingleStore database. It matches similar vectors, re-ranks based on the vector hashes that it has based on the context that you have asked, powers the new AI application, and it's either powered by ChatGPT or Hugging Face or Llama or AutoGPT, and it takes those responses from those and provides the feedback or the outcome back to the user. Now, let me tell you this. This is not a slideware. this is actually a real application, which we have built ourselves for an internal use case. And it's now publicly available for all of you to try. We call it Squirrel Bot. As you can see the name over there, SQRL. That is a bot that we built on SingleStore. So if you go to our website, you will see Squirrel Bot on a top marquee banner. What we did with this is we took SingleStore, connected with ChatGPT. We trained it on SingleStore documentation. So you would always ask, oh, how do I create a table on SingleStore? You just need to ask in plain English, and it'll give you the instructions, the code based on all the documentation it has been trained on. And this is what we built. We simplified the entire process, and you don't need a third database. You can do all of that on a single database without an extra license even. And like I said, we handle a variety of data types: structured, unstructured, semi-structured, JSON data, geospatial, you name it. Now imagine training manuals, knowledge bases, customer requests getting trained on SingleStore, and it powers your next generation of AI applications. So SingleStore provides these three key capabilities. Number one, as I said, our patented universal storage, which combines the power of transactions and analytics on a single table type. That means MySQL plus Snowflake. It takes two databases to power that. But today we can combine those capabilities on SingleStore because we have a proprietary single table type that you can reason with the data as soon as it lands. Number two, we give you pure speed. We are talking about millisecond, sub-second performance with faster transactions and analytics and vectorization and query compilation. Number three, the ability to do fast ingestion. As I mentioned, our customers are enjoying blitzscale speed with SingleStore pipelines, the ability to load and update data in real time. 10 million upserts per second. That's the speed we bring to the market. Lastly, the fourth is unlimited storage. With the combination of our three-tiered storage and the separation of compute, we bring the price performance benefit to the customers. Number five, we have the ability to take your MongoDB database and provide millisecond performance on Mongo applications. Let's say that you have JSON data, and we know for a fact Mongo is not performant on operational analytics. Now imagine with SingleStore Kai, we can power 1000x faster analytics on JSON. Previously never done before, and today we already do that. And you can query using SQL into JSON. That's the best part. And we are multi-model. We support a variety of data types, as I mentioned earlier: time series, vector data, JSON, key values, relational. It's all done in a single database. And you can run it anywhere. Hybrid, multi-cloud, on-premise, or on the public cloud. We support them all. And lastly, we have built-in generative AI and other intelligence with notebooks on top of SingleStore. So as I said in summary, we essentially took what we have learned, and we know what our customers want. They want a faster database. They want a database that can not only be future-proofing their analytics, but also is context-aware, so that when you ask a question, it understands your organization's needs and gives you the recommendation and data that you require. And we have made it very easy to deploy it anywhere, and you can leverage the features such as notebooks and our vector functions to take your applications to the next level. With that, I'm going to hand this over to Pavan, who will take this forward on how AWS and SingleStore come together to build your applications. Over to you, Shweta.
So before handing over to Pavan, I just want to take a moment to understand if any of you have questions here. If you want to ask anything, yeah, sure, go ahead.
So how would this work as a Kubernetes operator, like
So for the online audience, the question is, how does this works as a Kubernetes operator? So Mike.
Okay, so I'm Mike, Solutions Engineer of SingleStore. So basically that we do have in Kubernetes operator. It means that so that you can use that one, to power up the SingleStore. Yeah, and then over there you can define the template for that one. That how many nodes you had to prepare for that, and what is the size for each node, the memory, the CPU, and of course that when is the threshold for you to do a scale up, and of course that's a scale down. So
the orchestration happens on our cluster rather than.
Yes, correct. And one more thing is that we had Josh say that we do having two flavor with the on-premise and the other one on on the cloud managed service. We call managed service. So our on managed service that they build on the Kubernetes. Yeah.
Any more questions? Yes, go ahead.
Just a follow-up to that question, actually. In the architecture you have shown us, like you are actually the background architecture of the SingleStore is you are following the same Kubernetes and leaf node structure. So is it the same or it's a different?
Yeah, so basically our architecture, distributed architecture, is still follow the the aggregator and the leaf node.
Okay.
And it's built based on Kubernetes operator.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it's our own universal storage, our patented storage, though the architecture looks like a universal storage, which is similar to other distributed systems. But the underlying architecture is our patented. Any more questions, anyone?
Then just regarding this patented architecture, like which you guys are trying to
Yes.
right? So what is actually making it more special, like you
Okay.
have the more patent on the
Yeah. So basically, let me clarify a little bit. Our patented technology is a universal storage, the three-tier architecture, that is the memory, the disk, and the object storage. And of course, that in terms of the architecture, right, a separate one is about the distributed architecture. That is kind of you having one aggregator, one or more than one aggregator, and different leaf node allow you your application to scale. Scale out horizontally instead of normally that you do a scale up, just increase the hardware. So now you can add in more leaf node whenever your workload it require more processing power. Yeah.
So I understand now, like with this new patent, right, that it is universally applicable. So if you're going with multi-cloud architecture, right, just in case, so maybe different Asian Pacific region or like US or European others. So is it still applicable in that scenario as well, or do we need to do some any changes as an enterprise level?
Yeah, that is a good question. Actually, that here only one thing matter. It's about the network latency, because when you do query and then each and every leaf node is also need to talk to each other. So in the further term, like maybe replicate data for high resilience, high availability, right? So if your network, if there's no problem, then the network is good one, so should not be problem when you deploy one node here and one node in the other region. But of course, that nobody could be that follow the architecture considering about the network thing. Yeah.
And this last one,
Sure.
It's actually as a platform as a service, like you are actually giving us, or how actually the customer will be taking a SingleStore?
Okay, so basically that how this question is translated to be how you start with SingleStore in the easy way. So from the QR code that Sweta given, right? So it will lead you to a managed service. And of course, that it could be not taking you more than 5 minutes to spin up a cluster in any of the cloud provider you select. Could be that Azure, AWS, or GCP, and any region that is there. Then it hardly took you 5 minutes. Later, inside demo, I also walk you through how it look like for you to create the cluster, and then of course what are the things over there before we start to the main thing. Yeah.
Thank you.
Any more questions from our online audiences? There are a few questions.
Yeah, just back 1 minute. We seen that there's some people asking in the Q&A. Yeah, one question.
Okay, there are some questions related to spinning up the cluster. Anyway, we're going to get onto that step, which is just 5 minutes away. So don't worry about it. The QR code, I can share it again. So you can spin up the cluster again, and you can take on to understand how to create your application in SingleStore DB. So we can move on right now, and we can go to Pavan. And after Pavan's session, I will take questions related to AWS. If anyone has any AWS related question, over to you, Pavan.
Yeah, thank you, Shweta. And thanks, Mike, for answering the questions. And prior to that, George gave a very interesting statement, right? In fact, it's a metaphor where he mentioned like data is a new soil, right? Where we sow GenAI applications and watch them grow, right? So that's very interesting statement. Yeah, so with that in place, like I would like to proceed further, and I'll be talking about a couple of slides where I will be covering how you can integrate your AWS applications and SingleStore DB, right? So let's move ahead. Yeah, next slide, please. Okay, so here you can see there are various AWS services that are listed here. Right? Let me talk about a few key AWS services which has integration, seamless integration that could be done to SingleStore, right? Speaking of which, we have various databases such as Aurora and RDS, right? So SingleStore integrates with these Aurora and RDS. We can use AWS Glue in order to have the data flow to and fro between RDS and SingleStore. AWS Glue can be used to maintain a catalog of database, and where you can just transform the data and finally ingest the data into SingleStore. And you can also use Amazon Elastic MapReduce and Amazon managed streaming for Apache Kafka to stream the data into SingleStore, right? So you can see it is done via SingleStore pipelines, which are covered earlier by George. But to just reiterate, it is a SingleStore pipeline is a feature that continuously loads the data as it arrives from external sources, so, be it like Kafka or S3 into SingleStore. Right. So in addition to that, you can also read the data from SingleStore. The ingestion part is done. When it comes to reading the data from the SingleStore, you can do it from Python connector, and you can use a Python connector to load the data. For example, from Amazon SageMaker notebook, you want to just load the data and try some data analysis or draw some business insights out of that data. So analytics applications such as Amazon Redshift and QuickSight can also retrieve the data from SingleStore using the JDBC or DBC connections, right? So similarly, you can also have a HTTP REST interface through which you can interact to SingleStore from few of your applications that are deployed, be it on container services such as EKS or ECS on AWS or through AWS Lambda serverless functions. So let's move ahead to next slide, where I'll be talking about a reference architecture, how it looks like when it comes to interfacing your applications that are deployed on AWS with SingleStore. So before I start speaking about this reference architecture, just to mention, right? So SingleStore is available on AWS Marketplace, and there is also a Glue connector that is also available on AWS Marketplace. So you can subscribe to that service offering from SingleStore, and you can start deploying your application that interface with SingleStore. So back to the slide. So if you look at the slide, there is AWS Cloud, wherein SingleStore application is there available. And looking at the first point, right? So if you notice the connection between the SingleStore and Amazon S3. So it is done via gateway endpoint, right? So for those who don't know the gateway endpoint, it is a kind of network interface that provides reliable connectivity to Amazon S3 or DynamoDB to mention, without requiring any internet gateway or NAT device for your VPC. Right. Speaking of the points 2 and 3 that are highlighted on the slide, right? So those represent ingress and egress traffic. So if you look at that, they are connected. The applications that are hosted in your AWS account in a VPC would like to talk to your SingleStore database. So how you go about doing that? It could be achieved through AWS private link. Right. So for those who don't know AWS Private Link, it is a service offering that provides the private connectivity, be it between the VPCs or supported AWS services. And it could also interface your on-premises networks without exposing your traffic to the public internet. Right. So with the interface VPC endpoints, right? So which are powered by AWS private link, you can connect to the services hosted by AWS partners, such as a SingleStore in this case, seamlessly. So also with the help of AWS private link, right, you can have AWS service access databases that is deployed through the marketplace, such as SingleStore, and you don't need to. The only thing that I'd like to highlight here, which would be of interest, that also revolves around the security concerns, is your data would not be exposed or transmitted over the internet, right? Everything happens within the private network when you employ a private link. So on the other side of the things, you can see that the data is flowing to various streaming services, be it a managed streaming for Apache Kafka, which is represented as Amazon MSK, or you can just dump the data that is coming in from the SingleStore to self-managed Kafka if you are managing it on EC2, right? So that's the overview of architecture, how we can go about positioning and interfacing your applications with the SingleStore. So with that, I would like to give the control over back to John and Mike.
Thanks so much, Pavan, for the informative session that you had. Anyone has any question related to AWS and SingleStore integration?
So like now the SingleStore is actually a managed service from the marketplace at Amazon.
Yeah.
Is it posted on AWS on AWS as well?
I'm sorry.
Like yes, SingleStore also posted on VPC on AWS, and this is like a
Okay, so basically when you do how to say self-managed, but it means that you spin up EC2 and then you deploy SingleStore cluster or that, you can set up a private link on that to talk directly to your application, like in this case. And if for the other the thing, let's say you are using the managed service, our managed service, you don't have to deploy. So you just choose the how to say and then the region you want, and then of course that we can set up the private link direct to your application. So both options are available. Yeah.
And for streaming data, do you have any
So basically for streaming data, that is something Chuck mentioned earlier. We do have a pipeline. So what a pipeline do basically that just in simple term, okay, that is an object type in your database, like how you create a table, create a view, right? Create data, you just create a pipeline, then you pointing that is to the Kafka broker, and then later you define that is you define the format of the message, and then where it's going to. Whether going to the table, it means directly going to the table, or it could go into the store procedure where you can do a little bit mini ETL to like filter out certain data, do a little bit computation before it go to the final destination. And everything is native in SingleStore. You don't need to plug any new component. Yeah. So that is how SingleStore have you to do with streaming data, where we talking a lot about that a real-time analytics. Yeah. Any other question?
So now we are coming to the exciting part of the entire session, that is the demo. I hand over to Mike quickly to get started on this.
Okay. Turn off this one. So, let me load this one. So hopefully everyone already scanned the QR code and kind of been logged into the SingleStore. And I need some yes, I need some no. Who already done?
Slide again.
Oh, okay. Okay, so basically that, assuming that you only log.
Let's present the slide again.
Oh, sorry.
The login slide, tiny URL.
Okay, let me see. This one, yeah. This slide. Yeah.
So go to the next one. Yeah.
So basically, this one is the the link or the QR code. I think you can put it inside one check the direct link. But that we hear that there is some of the people who connecting the Wi-Fi here. It seems that in the network here they are blocked with a bit.ly link, so that we will put the direct link inside the chat of the Zoom, so that you can try from there.
We would also like to paste the GitHub resource here. So let me paste the GitHub resource in the chat and you can download it from there.
Yeah, S00, and then you can choose the the US region. Yeah,
get onto this.
Yeah. So yeah, you using the direct link, the bit.ly link is will be blocked. Yeah, okay. So I just give people that 1 or 2 minutes, and we can start. I will walk you through that how it look like for creating a new workspace in SingleStore.
Could you discuss the considerations of choosing the region also?
Yeah, so basically that when you choose region, right, when you want to bring the data is close to your application, right? Let's say your application, let's say you deploy it on US, in the Singapore AWS, right? You want to spin up your database, right, to serve in your application. Of course, you want to bring up to the closer to that one with the AWS Singapore. If you farther, then the network latency will be introduced. Yeah, that is the implication also.
Would there be big cost differences?
Yeah, of course that cost it could be different in terms of the egress and ingress if you do cross region. Yeah, but of course that is something that with the cloud provider. For SingleStore on managed service in terms of licensing, we only charge for the computing and for the storage. We don't charge for data in and out of the database.
So we assume that everybody has already logged in to this. Okay, we move on to take you through the steps of after signing up. What are the steps to spin up a cluster? So Mike, we can move on to the demo part.
So basically, when you start, you will see a similar thing on this screen where you would be able to help you to create a new workspace group. Basically, the workspace group it contains a multiple workspace underlying. So when you click on the group here, so it will bring to you where it allow you to choose. Let's say that which provider, and then what is the region that you want to select. Of course. So for this hand-on, for who want to follow this hand-on, let's choose AWS and then US is one. Yeah. You will see something similar. Just let me know that whether any step that you stop. Okay. Singapore. Okay. Then, of course, that we always having the option for you, just in case that you want to try with the workspace, and then later you want to automatically terminate after you maybe after 1 hour, 2 hour, 4 hour, or you not terminate, you having the option here. So just in case that I just put that after 4 minutes, it will do terminate for me. I don't need to log into and then do manually work. Yeah. Sorry. Yeah, that is just this one is for internal, but you should have a similar of interface where you can see. Everyone good at this step? Yeah. And for today to try out with the notebook, so you can use the S0 row. That is enough. That is very small one with 2 virtual CPU and 16 GB RAM. That's should be enough for you to try out. Yeah. And in this one that we don't need any sample of the data set matter whatsoever. So you don't select it. Yeah. Okay. So after that one, then you can click on the create workspace. So it will took you, I think that hardly it's been that 2 or 3 minutes. That's it. And in the meanwhile, I can when it's spin up, then I can walk you through, mean that how it look like for the interface, and mean that what are the components on the screen. Yeah. So basically, this one, the SingleStore portal, where it's kind of the housing, the interface for your managed service. When you log in here, you will be having the option that mean that to query with your data with the SQL server. Yeah. And of course that you also can having the option that to mean that create a new notebook for you. So because that later we will do upload a new workbook, right? So let me walk you through for this one. Yep. So for the notebook, if you go to this session, we can have some of the notebook is internally, and you can click to choose a new workbook, or you can do import from file. So where you are pointing to the notebook, download it. Everyone good at this point? On good? Yeah. Sorry. You have to download the notebook from the link that is Shweta put inside the chat. Yes, so that is the link for the notebook. You download it first, and later you using that option to import from the file. Okay. Everyone can see the link to download the notebook inside the chat.
Mike, can you also show that on the screen?
Yep, let me see. Okay. Yeah, this one, the link. Everyone got the link, right?
No.
Okay, let me copy paste it again. Don't worry with that.
Recording in progress.
Oh, somebody just rejoined, that's why. Okay, I just paste it. Yep. Yeah, and any option, because this one is survey question only. That just is no harm anything. Yeah, okay.
Can you paste it again? Because
Yep, sure. I will do it one again.
my screen shows chat disabled.
I think Shweta has to do it. It is coming to hosts and panelists.
Yep. So just one more. Okay, so anyone got trouble mean that to spin up the cluster, or mean that it's now with the download the notebook? Just yeah. So in the meanwhile, that means one you download the notebook. So of course that we can have the option that for you for those of mean that the people that new to the notebook, right? You can either create a blank notebook, or you can use some existing notebook here. So basically that is help you to having some working sample of the notebook where you can try out by yourself instead of having to do coding everything from the start. And then it could be with the semantic searching, or it could be with image matching, where it allows you to do the matching of image, of download the data image, do vectorization, and then pick up one image to get the the closest matching, or it's even upload the image from your side to do comparison with the data set. Yeah. You paste the link. Everyone can see the link, right? To download, right?
Not yet.
Not the GitHub.
The GitHub also.
Yeah.
The GitHub I already sent. 1 second.
That's not.
It's sent.
It's inside the Zoom.
Yeah. You can see in the chat the GitHub link.
That's like missing. So you have a later message, but earlier GitHub link is not there.
Oh no, we only have one GitHub link only for download the notebook only. Are you able to see?
Now I see.
Yeah, yeah.
Now we can see.
Okay, on good. Yeah, just download that one. Okay. Then of course that for some the other thing inside the SingleStore that you can see that you can see the active query, or you can get set in the alert wherever that your resource, your computing resource could be the memory, could be the RAM, or could be this, then it send out the alert for you and monitor your pipeline as well. Okay, so let me start to open the notebook. I already bring up the notebook here already. So after you download the notebook, you import in the notebook. It should be something like this one on your screen. Just let me know whether you are able to download the notebook and importing it.
What's the difference between personal and shared?
Okay, personal means that it's private to you only. Share means that let's say you have one notebook, then you want to share that one to your teammate, you put in share. So mean that whoever that allow the access to your cluster can see that notebook and then continue to do. That is the way of collaborate your work with your teammate.
Mike, can you show the people how to upload, how to download and upload the notebook?
Okay.
So we will be now going through how to download the notebook first and then upload it into the SingleStore DB.
So basically, very simple. When you open the link, then you can download it, right? Yeah. See, download it. It put inside here. Then of course that when you want to upload it, pretty much that you go to the notebook. You go to notebook here. Then here there is one arrow going down. Then you click to import. Then now you browse. Now you just browse to that the notebook that you just downloaded. Yeah. Okay. So probably how about this one? Let me just go through what are the things mean that inside when you interact with your notebook. And of course, this notebook right later, maybe after this session, right? So you can try out by your own. And we do send out the recording and with on the resources so that you can try at your own time. That sound good? So for this notebook demo, so basically we will do that two part. One is that we will download that one the PDF and we add the question on that PDF, and then based on the similar matching with our own functionality as our own function viewing function in SingleStore doc product to lead down what are the content, and we take it a little bit further using that one the question you asking, the data response from SingleStore. And then we prompt it into the OpenAI to ChatGPT to get a formal response. And we giving you another option, which is that instead of sending to ChatGPT, now you send into the Llama model. It's only download it and it view it in privately on AWS. That thing was done by Pavan. So let's go through the first part first. On good. Yeah, so basically that as I say that for notebook, right, it's help you to that kind of prototype your data with Python and also that with SQL. So you will see the developer experience, whoever that already get familiar with Jupyter Notebook, you will see the same interface, the same way how it's operates. So first thing first, we will do the install of the library, the Python library. Yeah. So basically it's already done. So the next part that I want to explain the code. So how it look like instead of just running the code. So what it do that at this step, we will have to input that set up the environment variable like about that your host, about your port, about username, password, where that's coming from. That's come from that your SingleStore instance. You just doing the setup. And of course that so now we're talking about the OpenAI, right? So we need the API key from the OpenAI as well. So for those who already try out with the OpenAI, right, you can get the API key for this one. Yeah, to try out. If not, don't worry. Later you can do setup at the own and the same step. You can try out from yourself. Still same thing. Okay. So let's run this. Let's run this one. So let it run. Okay. So now when it run, then you can copy the OpenAI. So I put it on the other string. Okay. And it will pop up for you the host, the username, and the port. Everything is come under that your cluster. Just now you spin up at here. Okay. And of course that you will find out, okay, just in case that if I don't using this interface, where I will find out that in my host, where do I find out the, yeah.
Pydantic error.
Sorry.
Pipeline error.
No, pydantic. Library pydantic.
Pydantic.
Error in our.
Big sauce base. Add in your pasta and
Okay, so now that we do that, yeah. Okay. So so now I talking about where you find out all of this information just in case not public. So here, let's say for your cluster, right? You would be able to find out it's from here. Just in case for my one. So when you create a cluster, right, it will come under that one different of the workspace. So of course that you can go inside here. So how you find out the information. You click on the workspace where you want to try out, and then you click on the connect directly. So what is you do that is you give on the information, but this one line not nice. So let's see for this one. So is you have the host it where the endpoint where you to connect to your SingleStore. What the port is on way 3306 and username is admin. But how about the password? So password you can manage from sorry, you can manage from the asset here. So you can get the password here. Of course that the password you will not be able to know the current password unless you know it. Otherwise you can do a reset the password for your asset. So with that password, right, you will be able to mean that to complete that the endpoint, the port, the username and the password to connect. Okay, let's input this one. After you input all the information, you just click update to process next. So just now already talking about how you do vector, how to say method GenAI data awareness. So it's including the 4 steps. Firstly, that you are making the data, download the data, making it use it, then you turn it, and then later you do it embedded, convert it into embedded using any model suitable. Maybe that for the test using sentence transformer, or you call it. In this case, that I using the Langchain, that to using the ADA model to convert into the embedded, and of course the next one we store into SingleStore, store into a table. Yeah. So first of thing that you can fetch the PDAC. Password. Okay, so password just now I mentioned that you can go into your workspace cluster, go into the asset, and then you can click to reset the password, put any new password, and and it use it. Okay.
Mike, we have a question online. Somebody has
Can you just show me?
raised a hand. Somebody has raised their hand.
Okay.
There's
No.
one, exactly, error. Yeah, I'm getting.
Okay, so in that case, right? So what I suggest to you, you click on the kernel, restart the kernel, and rerun that cell again. Yeah, restart the kernel and rerun the cell again. So it should allow you to populate that one, the OpenAI. Okay. Okay, so the next thing is that, okay, we will fetch the data with the PDF file from this link. And of course that, because this one is external link, so we had to let the notebook to aware of this link by adding that into the file word allow list. So basically that you can add into the edit file word, and then you can put your the domain name over there, which is libcon.com. Yeah. So where you find out that one, okay. So let me open this one again and show you. So it's, you see, edit the file word here on the right hand side on top corner. Yeah, on the right hand side on top corner to edit the file word and input the URL libcon.com here. Okay. So then get you are up to this step. Okay, I had to do one more. Yeah, so everything good to this step. Maybe any issue, any question? Yeah.
After the OpenAI step.
Yep. Yeah, go ahead.
Update and then.
No, update then it means that if you changing if you form the URL here. You see, just changing the URL, because this URL will later is you using by the Langchain library to connect to SingleStore to mean that insert the embedded creating from there.
Do we know how much credit you're going to burn with?
Don't worry, with the S00, if you just keep it going on, at least last for you for 2 weeks.
No, the OpenAI.
Okay, that is the thing that I say that if you able to having your own OpenAI key, then you can use it.
So do you know how much you're going to burn?
Do you need to share the OpenAI key?
Like how many tokens are we going to pass?
On for the OpenAI.
So we can ask this question to Pavan. You can ask the question.
No, I mean that for the OpenAI key, that you mean that how it's cost or what?
No, that how many tokens will be
We
used.
have an account, so logged into it. How much are we going to spend through this exercise?
Because OpenAI charges by tokens. Right?
Yeah. Just if I'm not wrong, because I having you for fast few data, it never cost, I think less than 20 cents. Less than 20 cents. Yeah. Don't worry. You not burn your pocket.
Sorry, do you mind going over the password stuff again for the database?
Yeah, the password. Okay, let me show you. Basically that for the password, right? So you have in your cluster, right? So let's go to the cluster, the workspace here. Then you go to the asset here. Then you will see the password here. So you can do reset it and using that one. On good? Yeah. Yes.
Password in URL. So it is supposed to be visible.
No, in this case, mean that for the notebook, of course, that when you using the other way around, like we key in for this one, right? This one just to display for chat. But when you enter the password, right, you see in this form. This one just for display that for me to check only for, in this case, notebook for testing only. I've got the in production, you will not do like this one. Yeah. Okay, and after you add in the, the libcom.com here, inside the file work, so you should be able to run it. Yeah. Run it successful. Okay. And then later we can change it. The next thing is that after you download it, right? Basically that PDF is unstructured document. So what we do now is that we will do the test split thing. Okay, so firstly, I mean, we will check that, okay, for that document, mean that how many characters we are having it. Basically, this one just a step to do a checking only. And then after you having data, now you turn it, breaking down it into the turn size of 2000, and then you breaking down it. So, and you store the data inside that here. Yeah. And of course that now we will call the OpenAI using the Langchain. So basically Langchain and SingleStore, I mean that were a company. So basically they are supporting SingleStore as part of their vector initiative. Yeah. So we can run here. So the embedding is will be put into the embedder here. Then, as I mentioned with you, the notebook will support for you to do a coding in Python and also in SQL. So the thing that now we are doing everything in Python. And how about if you are trying to use SQL to connect to the database, your workspace, right? So you can using our magic word percentage SQL, and below that one you can write out your SQL. Okay, your SQL statement. In this case, that we try to create a database PDF, and then we use it, and all that we will doing drop this table. Okay, if it's existing. Because why? Because later is we are having this method. If you insert the embedded into that table, it will create the table and insert it. Yeah. So let's run this one. And now you can using the SingleStore library Python support from Langchain, and insert the data into SingleStore to the table PDF.s2. So it's already done. So now you can query it to check how many, how many embedding we already insert into that table. So basically that is having 8 embedding. So, but how it look like? So of course that you may want to open another tab. You want to open another tab, just type SingleStore portal.singlestore.com and go to the SQL editor. Yeah, and so here you choose that your connection. Of course, in your case you only have one, so should not be problem. So in my case, that I will run this one using my PDF database, and then I will run to see the content. So basically that when we do using the Langchain, insert the embedded into SingleStore. So I will having the content of the chunk that is where I getting from the PDF, and here the content of the vector embedding. Yeah. And I've got that including some metadata. That it download into which directory. Yeah. But the main thing I just want to show you, that together with content we do have in the embedded after using that method. Any question on it? Yeah. So after this one, then that will come to the part of that now we do query about the content of the PDF. Okay, so how about let me open the content of this PDF so that everyone can see how it look like first. So basically here the content of PDF file. We download it talking about the object-oriented database and what is the future of that one. So we interesting to know about one thing. Will the object-oriented database become commercially successful? So what is the next operation do? Like we try to find a similar matching between our query text and then the content of the embedded inside our database, which is getting from the PDF file. So we run that. So basically what this one do is that it will convert your text query into the vector, and then it will do the dot product with the data in SingleStore, the vector, to find out the similar matching and list down for you here. On the content here is coming from your PDF. Yeah. And I've got you can take a little bit step further. So how about we making it look nicer, more formal graph. So we getting the query together with the response where we getting after we query the database here, and then we pump to the ChatGPT. Okay, so and then we get the response back. So here is the place where we see the ChatGPT will be uses. Yeah. So what you do is dock over there, and then it says that the information provided suggestion that the object-oriented had not been commercially successful, blah, blah, blah. Some other thing. Basically, it gets the summary of the response and based on your query, and then give you a formal that one response. So it is a way that how you do a searching with your own data. In this case, a PDF file. You put it into database, you do query it, and then later you get a response, make it a little bit more formalized with the ChatGPT. Okay, so you may wonder, okay, but I don't really want to go to the ChatGPT OpenAI. So how I do it within my own private. So recently that Facebook that giving the Llama 2, right? So with Llama 2, you can download that model. You can bring it up. In AWS. This one is sample that Pavan is only help me to download the Llama 2 and then put it into AWS EC2 and then make it into endpoint for you to do the query. Just one. Sorry, just 1 minute. Yeah.
Yeah. So let me just talk few sentences about this endpoint, right? So I gave an introduction about SageMaker Jumpstart, right, which will democratize access for builders to access various models that are available from public and proprietary AI companies. So Meta has also been added into the list of SageMaker Jumpstart AI model providers, and Llama 2 is officially available. And Llama 2 chat version has been deployed using SageMaker Jumpstart for inferencing purposes. And this endpoint, SageMaker endpoint, has been exposed via AWS Lambda, and that is again available to you through Amazon API Gateway, right? So that's how you can seamlessly access this endpoint URL and interact and send prompts to this particular endpoint. So I recommend you to use the optimum number of max new tokens in order to get faster response times for these two endpoints. And these two endpoints will be available till today. By the time you will be done by the lab, you should have access to it. And tomorrow onwards, this will no longer be available. Yeah, over to you, Mike. Thank you.
This one. So for those who did not have in the open API, so can you for the second option, which is using the Llama to the endpoint over there. Let me bring up this one. Yeah, you can run in this cell. You don't need to have in the open API key. So it's how it will look like. Let me run last one. So basically the same way we put in the prompt, what is the query, what is the response, and made it formalize this one. So if you give you the response, meaning based on the prompt, you searching for that one, and what is the query coming up from that is your data. So this is the way that how you say using ChatGPT with your own data in your private place. And the next thing you mean that, okay, sometimes, right, the business user, right, who are very knowledgeable about their domain, but they are not sure about your writing the SQL, about the code. So how about that? Is there any magic thing that I can add the database in English? I just need to tell me, okay, running one, can you just write me a query to query, give me the top 5 of the customers spending the most in this region. So, and is there any tool that is connect to my data, get it run, execute it, return it back to me or not. So that is something that I go to show you next. Okay, for this one, so you may have to download the data, insert into the database, but it will take some time. So for this one, I will go to show you the demo. Yeah. So firstly, mean that we will running the cell here. So basically, it will connect to your SQL, and then it will be create an agent for you. Agent basically is you try to create a SQL agent here. SQL agent here is try to interpret of your query in plain English, read to the database, understand its architecture, understand the architecture of the database, what is the table, and try to map it with the question from the user, form a SQL query, execute it, and get back the result. So how does it look like? That is for the next step. Let's say, can you just write me a SingleStore query that is show the total of the customer per country, and then ranking it in descending order. And by the way, this one is look into my order management database. So what is my database look like? Let me just show you that database, the order management database. So basically, is here just a snapshot about the retail retail database, where you have different line item order coming from different customer, different nation, and different region. So we asking that question.
Can you reshare your screen because it's not sync? I think they're getting the old share.
Okay, I new share it again. Yeah.
Yeah.
On good now?
Yeah. Okay.
Okay. So basically now I just draw a query. Can you just draw a query to show me the total customer per country and ranking it in the descending order? That is plainly English. Every business user can do it.
I think you need to share your screen, not the tab, because
okay, let me share the
whole screen.
Yeah, okay, let me share the full screen. On good now?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Okay, now I will run this one. What this one is do is that based on the agent with the SQL. So what it do is that it will form my query. Okay, it will see that okay, I connect to my database. That is there are some table out there. It's about the order management, about the order, about the nation, about the line item. Then it will list down what are the column of that table and try to map it again with my query in English. And what it do is that, okay, after the mapping query, it's write out a query for you. But of course,
there's a question. They're getting a rate limit error. You exceeded your current quota. Please check your plan and billing details.
That is they're using the open API key, so of course that they rate limit of that. Okay. Okay, so
in that case,
it doesn't matter. They basically just keep trying. Let's say you mentioned that 4 seconds, then the next request is going to be in for us 4 seconds. So it should not be harm anything. It's just a warning actually. Okay, so but the business user, they will not concerned about this SQL. So what I mean that they want something that index the result in that. So this one is what it help you to do that. Okay, it will run in that query and then it's provide the final answer for you. Okay, and then sometimes you wonder whether this one is correct or not. Then of course that we can get in the query is it generated by and then we can do the execute that query. Yeah. So I've copied this one. Put the query here. On good. You see the order management. We execute the query. Yeah. So basically, it's bring out for you. It means that on the detail here. Yeah. And then of course that we can do a little bit more complex. I mean that in case that we want to write down who are the customer paying the highest for per country and how much they spending. And got that I mean using the national name in the response. So we can run this one. Why is do that again? Is you look into your database, try to understand the column, the table, try to map again with your query, forming the SQL query, execute it, giving back you a response. Yeah. So it's pretty much it's quite nice, right, for the business user. Maybe you can build a simple that interface for the productivity. Bring that one, just asking the question in English. I connect to database. I give you back the result. And if you want to make it a little bit more fancy, right? You can bring up in your dashboard, or you can add the user invoice. Then voice translate into text, pump that text into this tool, run again the database, get it out. Yeah, so that it could be something quite relevant and productivity. And everything here, the vector thing here, the filtering of the metadata, everything done in SingleStore. Yeah. So we just leverage for the Langchain to make it mean that to more complex the sentence answer. Yeah. Okay. So that is come to the final of my demo. Just let me know anything that you stuck or of course that we always can be connected after the event, just in case that you have any other question. Yeah.
How can we get the order management database?
Order management database here. So basically in the how say in the very front, so you have in the link that how you will do that, create a database and load it. So you click into this link. So there will be bring you create the database here. So where it will show you the step how to do it, but instead of TBC, you're using the order management. Yep. So where I mentioned inside this step for the order management, and this one is just for you to create a database, right? And of course, the last thing, right, it should be something. Just now you're asking about the pipeline, how it look like, right? So pipeline. It look like this one. You can see this look like exactly the same like how you create a table of view. You tell create the pipeline. What is the pipeline name? Loading the data from where? Let's say from S3, or it could be from your file system, or it could be with streaming data. You pointing where is it located, and then of course that you go there to with table. Yeah, and then you do the kind of formatting, passing it. Yeah, so you just blindly can copy this code and run it. And then it will automatically load the data for you. Yeah.
Another question about the agent executed or run. So it looks like it's just going off and talking so many statements. So I'm concerned about cost running well. How do you control when it stops talking? The observation, thought, action, observation, thought, action. How long is it going to go on?
How long is it will go?
It will repeat this observation, thought, action, observation, thought, action. So would you know before running how many tokens it's going to use?
That question I did not having the right answer right now. Let's see whether anywhere mentioned or that we're using the default token, but I did not check further. I mean, how many tokens it will be reduced in this case?
Maybe there's a setting of max tokens to
okay, in case that let's say
can you repeat the question, please?
How many tokens that will be used in case that you are using with OpenAI?
And what measures to take to limit the usage of tokens?
So let's say for
Okay, I
Raffles,
understand, right? Yeah, so
512. Yeah.
yeah. So in this example notebook, they are limiting for 512 tokens, but there might be some situations where you want to end up using the max limit that a foundation model allows you to. So the best practice here is even on the official Langchain documentation. For example, if you take number station NSQL or any other generative AI application that does this kind of query building internally and retrieving the data, there could be chances that the user might ask something like, show me the all data that is present in my orders. Then you might have millions of records, then it will end up printing all the data, right? So you will exhaust your tokens. So best practice is to limit or add internal limits, such as the number of records that you want to, and also exclusively respond to the user who is asking that such kind of queries, stating that the max amount of data that I can return you is these many records, and you can just not shoot the maximum token limit that a model has. That's how you can just go about optimizing. Does that answer your question?
Yeah. Any other question?
We're done?
Yeah, we're done.
Okay, all right.
So let's go back to here.
So, sorry. So that brings us to the end of today's session. We're going to choose a winner for the raffle right now, and it can be anybody. So we have some active participation today. I hope you guys enjoyed today's session and the hands-on demo. Everything will be sent to you in your registered email address, all the resources, including the recording of the webinar. So if you even missed any step, it's fine, because you can go through the recording again and you can follow through. If you have any questions, then I'll leave my email ID in the chat. It's called team@singlestore.com or sagarwal@singlestore.com. Some of you have received emails from me. You can directly contact me or contact the team section, and we will respond to your queries. In case you guys are finding errors into your code, I will divert your queries to our engineers and they will take care of it, but don't hesitate to reach out to us if you're having issues. I would love to have feedback from you guys that how you find the session. So at the end of the session, there is a survey that's going to come into our browser or into your email address. Please help us respond to those surveys. It will help us improve the content. We intend to do this webinar every month on new topics, on new generational technologies with different customers as well as partners. So in case you have feedbacks on what topics interest you, we will most likely and very happy to hear about that as well. So I have a person who has actively participated today in our session today. I forgot your name. Yeah. Rajesh. So Rajesh is the winner of the AirPod today. And thanks, Rajesh, for actively participating since the beginning. And the AirPods will be delivered to your address in some days. So I'll keep you in loop. Thanks, guys, for joining us. For on-site participants, please join us for a happy hour. Grab your beers. There's food lying there. Hopefully it's not too cold. Please join us at the for the happy hour today. And for the online participants, thank you so much for joining. We'll come again with new interesting topics. Have a good day.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you.